Suneera Madhani. Suneera Madhani.
Without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Suneera.
Hi, I'm Suneera Madhani, a mom of two, daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who built a billion-dollar business. Yes, billion. Now I'm doing it again and building my second unicorn, Worth. Shockingly, less than 2% of female founders ever reach 1 million in revenue, and I'm on a mission to change that. At CEO School, we mentor thousands of women to help them level up in business and in life. We believe that you deserve to have it all because honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Good morning, and welcome back to the CEO School podcast. It's Suneera here, and I am so excited for today's episode of this new season. I'm calling it episode 2, but my producer says it's like episode 390 something at this point. But I am really excited about this 2.0 journey that you and I are taking together, and I'm so grateful that you are here with me today. If you caught last week's episode, we were talking about what this new season is going to be about. I'm taking back the mic, so I will be doing some exciting interviews this season, but I really do want to have one-to-one direct conversations with all of you, connect with all of you, and truly share all the lessons that not only took me to building a billion-dollar business, but even how I'm building again and how I'm applying them again this time around. And there has been so many lessons, so many things that I would absolutely do over in a heartbeat, and also so much heartache and, so many times I fell to the chin that I wish, if I could look back and kind of erase some of those things, that would be really helpful. And so I do want to share, all the things that you guys want to know. And so with that, we're really active right now, and I'm really active on our social right now. I'm really active on my newsletter. And so I really am going to link everything into the show notes, but every episode is being recorded every single week. This is the first time that I've ever done this. I'm so hyper aware of my time, and I've found so many amazing productivity hacks and things to really time hack to be able to really do it all, which the podcast previous seasons, I was able to do by batching through the podcast, where I would come into the studio and I'd be able to record 4 or 5 episodes at a time. I'd be at a conference and I would interview 3 to 4 people at a time. And that's how we were able to really batch through the show. So I'd almost get a month worth of content for you in a single sitting, which is super exciting, really, really saves me on time. And then also helped me get into that podcast mode where it kind of feels effortless. But with that, as I've been reflecting back and where I'm at in this part of my life, I really do feel like I do have all the time in the world. And maybe I was just overly trying to hijack my time. Now, I'm not saying that productivity isn't important. I'm not saying that being efficient with my time isn't important, but I just really am excited to be in the present. In the present, but this is the most present I think I've ever been in my life. And I think it probably has to do with a lot of the personal growth that I've been working on, which I'm going to be sharing with all of you, the spiritual journey that I've been on, but really about just owning the present moment. And so with that, I'm in our beautiful studio in Orlando, and I'm here every single week. It's Wednesday when I'm recording right now. You're going to get the episode on Monday, but that's how quick the turnaround is. We're recording 1 episode a week. And I'm able to really share my thoughts of what I'm feeling in the moment, listen to the feedback that you're sharing with me, and then being able to deliver that mentorship, that advice, those things back to you on an actual weekly basis. And I think that is just so beautiful. And I do feel that it's just going to be elevated for that reason. I believe that it's going to be more purposeful as well. And not that there might not be, times where, it might be batched through, or that the content isn't relevant, or that, there isn't purpose in that. But just where I'm at today, it's the weekly, and I'm excited to get to hear from each of you. And so every week I am going to be recording an episode here based on what you want to hear about. And also every week I write Saturday morning. So this has been my ritual now for the last couple of weeks, and I'm really happy with it. And I'm excited to be able to hopefully continue on this. That's my accountability mechanism here, as all of you. But every Saturday morning, I wake up and I have my cup of coffee and I pull out my laptop, and I've actually been writing my newsletter. And so it's the first time after probably about 2 years that I am physically writing. So my process before in that was I've got a great team. I've got great copywriters, and I would get on, our meetings and share, here's what I want to be sharing. But there's still an aspect of it being ghostwritten, and it has my feedback, and then it's incorporated back and forth. And sometimes I feel like the message isn't perfectly how I want it to be delivered. But you know me, I'm all about the 80-20 rule, right? I can't own everything. And so I'm like, okay, it's 80%. It's good enough. It can go out. But again, right now I'm just in that space where I just want to control my message. I really just want to share the right message with all of you because I believe that it is important. I don't know. I feel very called to personally be able to do this. And so every week on Saturday, I'm actually physically writing it. And I will say I'm not the strongest writer. I'm not the strongest. When you read the last few newsletters, you'll see if I lose my thought and it's not as quippy as it can be or perfectly curated as it might have been in the past. And it doesn't have all the fancy banners and all the bells and whistles. But I do feel that it's mine. And I'm just really excited for you to hear my message and my voice. And last week, when I wrote the newsletter, last week I talked about it. I was a hot mess express. So such a hot mess last week. I've been in a really great place, and hot mess in like a reflection, hot mess in terms of emotions and reflection, which it's okay, right? We're all gonna have, we're emotional beings, so we're allowed to have emotions, especially not only in our life, but I do believe that business is personal. And last week was the 10-year anniversary of Stacks Payments. So I launched my first company in 2014. And it was actually technically 2013, but I got it registered in 2014. And it has been a 10-year journey building Stacks. And when I first started the business, I had no idea, that I could go build $1 million business, let alone $1 billion business. And now I reflect back, and there's been so much success. There's an entire organization that was built out of this. And this organization lives on without me as well, right? So I'm no longer active in the organization. I've exited the business. I've sold the business. And, but my team is there, right? And my DNA is there. And like, there's this, like, it's like I'm disconnected, but it's such a huge part of me. And over the last 2 years, I've worked so hard to shed my identity as CEO of Stacks, right? So the last 2 years post-exit, I realized that every single thing that I was tied to was just the business. And that was the journey that you all went along with me over this last, 18 months of me rediscovering myself, asking myself, who am I? Like, who am I outside of my role as CEO? And I look back and, there wasn't much there, right? I had my business and I had a family that I was growing, and that's where my time was spent. For the very little time that my passion here is supporting all of you, this has been such a creative outlet for me. This has been such a safe space for me. And I really held on as tight as I could to this little tiny purpose engine that I had that would fuel me through the hard times, that would be an outlet for me, that was outside of my identity as CEO and mother, which was CEO School. And that's pretty much what the last decade looked like. And so this last 2 years, when I was able to shed that identity, I worked really hard to get to know myself. I went on a very big journey, and not some sort of like, I didn't go to go climb a mountain or go on this big retreat or go do this like fancy life event. It was really a journey of just spending time with myself. It was a journey of taking back my health. That was like step one of it, and spending time with myself. And then this next part of the journey became about, choosing my purpose and like, what does it look like for CEO School, and not just like holding on to what I'm trying to keep alive, but what is actually my vision here. And another part of it was really around my spiritual journey and just really working on mindset and really working on being present and really working on slowing down my pace, slowing down my tone, slowing down and being present in every single thing that I do, and just being really selective about not just where I spend my time, but being present in that time. And so it's been a really cool journey this last 18 months. And last week, I was reminded of the anniversary because, of course, it's a date that, I remember, and also on my, social and on my feed. And then, of course, there were so many amazing celebrations, for Stacks, and was watching everything on social media. And I was filled with emotion. And there were multi-parts of that emotion. There was pride, so much pride in that emotion that I was just looking back and I'm like, man, Suneera, like we actually did it. We like started something, you started something from just an idea, and look at where, your baby is at today. It's an organization that's continuing to live on, and it has your legacy and it has your mark, and it's continuing to serve in its mission and its purpose. And I did something amazing. Like I really had so much of that reflection. And then there was this like sadness as well of just missing it, right? Missing that life and being parted from that life. And so I was missing, the people is really where that emotion was really coming from. Missing my team, missing that office, missing that day-to-day, missing that part of my life was also a big part of my emotion. And so I wrote this open letter to my team, just sharing my emotion and sharing my gratitude for the time that we spent together, and giving them advice on, what made that organization successful was really our values, was really the team. It was really one team. That was the biggest value. And that I want them to continue to carry that mission through and through. And wherever they are in their lives, I think as CEOs sometimes, and, we expect people to, to give their whole life to a company. And that's honestly, that is what that organization was. We all had Stacks as part of our DNA, but it's not a fair ask for it to be someone's whole life, right? And so it was a big reflection of wherever they are in their life. Like they're such a big part. There's such a connection. There's this human connection, human that I just wish so much success, like for not only that organization, but for each of them. And so I had an opportunity to share some of that. So I'll link that social post and that open letter here as well into the show notes. But I sat down to write the newsletter last week, and with that reflection and with that emotion, really thinking about what built that organization. And it's really like perfect timing, especially as this is just episode 2 of this season. I'm building another company again. I'm building another fintech again. And I want to, do all the right things that I did. And I do want this organization to also be different, because I'm different now. I built that organization in my 20s, right? And 25 to 35, there's these critical years of my life, but I also was a different person. I'm the same at my core, but I've evolved. I've evolved as a human, and I've evolved also as a leader, and I've evolved also as a CEO. And so I do want things to be different for Worth. And I'm so excited to really give you that tangible play-by-play of how I'm building this. And whether you are in business today and you've been in business for a decade, whether you have a small business, whether you have a large business, a medium-sized business, whether you have a team of just you, or you have a team of, 400 like I did, I still believe that thinking about how you want to build the values of the organization, it's always important, whether it's one person or whether it's 400 humans, right? And on that reflection, as I'm building Worth right now, our team is growing fast. And also what's exciting is I run multiple organizations, right? CEO School is a small organization. We have a team of 5. That's our team. We've got the most amazing support systems and agencies that support us as well. But it's a small team. But that DNA and that part of how I'm building. Doesn't matter if I'm building the tech company that's going to grow to be this massive, revenue size or massive team. It's still applicable to the small organization because it comes from a place of having your values first. And that's what I want to impart on today's episode, and is really about knowing your core values as an organization. And I would say that that's probably the number one biggest lesson for me, is that we did that part right. And getting that part right, getting the values of the organization right, is what allowed, I do believe, the success of that organization. Getting the values of CEO School right is what has allowed this organization to continue to grow, even outside of it not being this full, well-oiled machine in whatever capacity it is, right? Without my full attention as well. But still, the values is what carry this organization through. And as I'm building Worth, I do know that that's the DNA. Like it's the values in which we're going to build this organization on. And so if you're like, Suneera, how does this apply to me in my business today? And like, give me something tactical. I want to leave you with, let's actually get tactical on how to build the values of the organization. So when was the last time you actually sat to write down what are the values that define your business? Do you have core values of the business? And if you don't, that's okay. This is a perfect time for us to go work on that. And the process in which to do it can be extremely simple, but it has to come from you as the founder. It has to come from you, as the person leading the organization, because your organization is going to be a reflection of you and your value system. And so this is where the part that's really interesting, it's like we have to almost humanize the business as if it's a person, right? And it's so ironic because it's like the most successful organizations like have DNAs, like they're like almost like living, breathing organisms, and they are. There's culture, there's people, it's a system, it's a little society, it's a community, right? And so how do you foster what the values of that community are? And so sit down with yourself this week and really ask yourself, what are the values that define us as an organization? And also, what are the values that you aspire to be in your organization, right? So for us, one team has always been a value that's been part of my organization. I always want our team to operate from a place of never of, the individual. I do believe that if we foster an environment where it's really growth for the collective, that everyone will lend the hand and support each other, and that no job is going to be, too big or too small for anyone in the org. That value of one team also spans across to how we treat our customers and how we treat our partners and how we treat each other, right? Most importantly. And so that's a value that we have in the organization. That's a value that I personally live by. And if you ever, I do feel like if anyone has had a chance to interact with me, that these are the value systems that I also try to ensure that are part of how I live my day-to-day life. And so that can be reflected in everything that I build. And so obviously I think that that's one of the greatest values. And I've carried that through every organization. But also there's different, value systems. Currently right now, we have a value of excellence at Worth. We are a data company. So we're a fintech, but we're working on data accuracy to understand small business credit worth, right? And so there's so many data points, financial data points of a small business, and we want to be an actual and accurate reflection of credit worth for a business. And having excellence is a huge part of that mission. We have to be able to do it, not just subpar. We have to be the best at what we do, and we have to deliver it in a way that is, it's at the top, right? And so excellence is a huge part of our core value at Worth and everything that we do. And, it's really about the quality. So it's this time around, it's really about we're serving large financial institutions. We don't need everyone, but we're going to be selective of our customers as well and who we're building with and who we're partnering with. And it really is that quality over quantity. And so these are things that you can think about for your organization. And what are the different value systems, right? Creating joy was a value system that I had at Stacks. And that was something we served small business, right? And we wanted to ensure, there's so much stress on small business all the time that we wanted to be an organization that created joy for them, whether that was through our technology, whether that was through every interaction with customer support. It was a value principle. And it was a value principle because that's where I was at the time in my life as well. I was wanting to have fun and I wanted to create joy, not only for us, for our team, our culture. It was there was a lot of joy in that organization. And not saying that I'm not going to create joy here at Worth, but it looks different, right? It looks different. And so I want you to reflect on where you are at in your journey as well. And it's okay to, honestly, if you had values that you had created, that are on your walls, that are reflected, in your organization, and it's okay to scrap them. It's okay that values can evolve too for where you are at today. And so there's, I've seen all kinds of values in organization from, putting the customer first, right, is a value system. Even, in terms of, delivering, being innovative, right? And so innovation, that's part of our value system currently. We want to be innovative. We want to be the ones to create something that doesn't exist. Innovation has to be at the forefront of what I'm building at Worth, because we're using the newest technology. We're using, machine learning and AI and generative AI and explainable AI and data, and it's really complex, but also it's innovation at its best. And so we want to be technology driven in this organization. And for your business, right, if you are a product, and this applies to any style business, right? If you're a product-based company, service-based company, what are the values that you stand on, right? And so speed, I love speed in organizations. Speed could be how you always want to be first to your customer. You want to deliver products fast. You want to ensure, if you're a product-based company, speed could be part of, the delivery service of it, even if you're a service-based company, right? And so that could be a value. So I'm sharing different kinds of values for your mind to open up, but I really want you to sit and say, what are the things that we want to be? And then part 2 is you can't be all the things. And so it's not just all the values, it's the core values, right? So what are the most important values? And for me, if you've been on this journey with me for the last however long, 4 years now, you know that I can't remember anything more than like 3 things. And so I love having 3 values. Those are the 3 values. That's what I can really drive my organization to. Those are the things that I can remember. And so pick 3 that you feel carry the most weight, that carry what you're trying to be and who you are today. Also make sure that not every value is just aspirational, right? That it has to be part of your DNA, but pick 3 values. Once you've established those 3 values, now it goes putting it into practice, right? So it's not just about sending an email out and having it, as part of like your next, team meeting to say, here's our values. Incorporate the people on your team into building out those values, right? In your organization, how do you actually apply speed, if that is one of your values? How do you apply if attention to detail is a value, right? How do you actually apply that? Quality, how do you actually apply that? And how are you doing that today? And how could you be doing that for your customers? And once you sit down with your team, and everyone gets really excited about this, because at the end of the day, these are like the human things that connect all of us. And we can all rally behind value systems. That's why we have politics in the nation. That's how societies are built. That's how how everything is built, is because people come together to rally around values. And it doesn't matter from what backgrounds people can come from. People can align on value systems. They can also not be aligned on value systems, right? And that's an important point for me to share with you today, because you may find that once you have your team, and you're sharing the value system, it may not resonate with people. And it's important to hear out why it doesn't. And maybe it's not an applicable value. Maybe it's an applicable value to you, but it's not core to the organization. But it could also be that their value system may just not align with your value system. And that is okay. And that means that that person may not actually be a great fit for the organization. And it's not about, and this, I want to be careful of how I say this because I want to think about the organizational's value, right? So once you've come in and said, okay, here's my values, but here's how I think they are part of our organization. You then bring the team in and we agree to the organization's values, which should still be a reflection of what your value system are. It's okay. You are allowed. This is your company. If you're going to have a value system that you are not connected with, it's never going to be part of the core value system. Okay. But it may be that someone is not aligned. Speed may not be what they're aligned with. It's not going to work out because it's not something that either they can get behind or aspire to, and it just is not part of the system. So sometimes going through this process also helps you identify who are not the right fit players for the team. And also, once you establish what these principles are, you can also hold your team accountable to those principles, right? And so we're able to, utilize the values to positively reward the team. We talk about how somebody, had that attention to detail, or, one of the core values was, get shit done. That was a value that we had. And it evolved to getting stuff done because we became more professional. Then it evolved into getting the right stuff done because we didn't want to just get stuff done. We wanted to get the right stuff done. So your values can evolve with you over time. But we would reward, right? Like at our, if somebody did something amazing and they got the right stuff done, we'd give them open praise to say, this team member really demonstrated that value. This teammate really demonstrated that value of one team. They really demonstrated that value of excellence. And so it is a way for you to communicate with your teams and ensure that your teams are rowing in the right direction that actually doesn't just have to do with their day-to-day responsibilities or the KPI scorecard or the revenue. And I'm a firm believer. I'll say that again. Sorry, guys. And I'm a firm believer that if you get the values right, and if everyone is operating at their highest and best self aligned with your core values, that will naturally have tangible ROI across the board on your KPIs, on your revenue, on your sales goals, on the growth of the company, because it's the people that help drive you there. And so I know just on this reflection of this last year, I would say that is probably one of the biggest lessons was on the value system. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the different styles of value system. And I'd love to invite you back in to ask questions. So every week when I am going to be dropping the episode, you listen to the episode back on my stories, I'll be sharing a little chat box so that if you do have further questions that we can continue to carry the conversation. And then I can also maybe answer them for you on next week's episode as well. But I don't want you to overcomplicate it. And I know there's many, many women listening that have small teams that have even, not even one full-time employee. Maybe you just have you and some contractors. Guess what? The organization still should have its value system. And when you align with the contractors that you select, they should be aligned with your value system. And so when you're hiring, when you're looking for partners, even your customers, you're looking for those styles of people that align with your value system. And so I'm really excited to see what you come up with. I'm really excited for you to share those with me on social. I would be so excited to share and participate in what you're building. And at the end of the day, I want you to just take ownership of the fact that this is yours. And I think for so long, I've always been taught of it's like using the word we and using the word us. And, great CEOs don't ever use the word I. But I would say here, it's a part of who you are. And so you're allowed to build the organization exactly how you want it. And so I feel like I never got that permission. I think it naturally happened. But I do want to share that this is your baby. This is your organization. And you can do what you want with it, have the right people for it, have the right value system. And when all of that clicks, then you get to enjoy that journey more. It can guide you to the right way as well. It can evolve into the right things as well. And even when the organization, when it's time for, an exit, or you decide that it no longer aligns and you want to sell the business, or even just stop the business, right? There's so many ways to exit a business. It can still live on without you and still have those core principles to carry the organization forward as well. So big lesson. And I really hope you enjoyed today's episode on core values. And give me some feedback. I'm excited to hear about what you want to hear. I'll be online. I'll be in the stories, and I'll link the newsletter. So I'll be writing this Saturday. I'll be writing the newsletter for you guys to receive every week. It comes out on Wednesday. So on Mondays, you'll receive a new podcast episode. And on Wednesday, you will receive the newsletter. We're calling it Big Business Energy because that's just where we are at. And it is big business energy. It's great energy. And it's also very calm and exciting energy. So we can have big business energy with the right alignment as well. I'll see you guys next week on the CEO School podcast. And before I let you out, the only way we grow the show is through your reviews and through you sharing the show. So I'm really excited to share these messages with as many founders as I can. If you could take 2 minutes for me today, if you could just leave a review on today's episode on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you're listening. And I will be sharing those reviews. I'll be commenting back. So if you can leave me a review, I would really appreciate it, and share it on your social if you enjoyed today's episode, and let me know. I can't wait for another amazing episode next week at the CEO School Podcast.